Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets trembling, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, for the land under the fray, and the home of the brave.
Don't be afraid, this is a low fat, and you are listening to HonestAnswerRadio.com. Now, where is the egg roll you guys promised me?
The views and opinions expressed on the Honest Answer Radio show are the opinions of Honest Answer Media and no one else. If you're hearing a syndicated broadcast of this show, don't hold it against the broadcaster. Rather, congratulate them on their openness, tolerance, and respect for the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you very much.
The sky is falling and it's breaking through. The walls are splitting, clean in two. It's coming down no matter what we do, but we can make things better. Oh, children, bend your knees, bow your head, pray for peace, rise again. Oh, my people, bend your knees, bow your head, pray for peace, and rise again.
And welcome aboard the SS Honest Answer Radio. I'll be your skipper this evening. My name is Marty.
And I'm Casey.
What are you, the cruise director? You're the broad that walks around with a clipboard, right?
That's me.
I knew it. You've got the legs for it. Ho ha ha. Well, Thursday, when, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. We are ready to get down to the rat killing, right?
I've got my rat killing stick.
Oh, right on. We'll get down to the rat killing or the frog gigging, whatever you want to call it. Thursday, when we were signing off, we was getting ready because, the debate that you and I were excited about, the vice presidential debate was about to pop off. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the VP debate, but since we haven't, gotten to weigh in on it, since it happened, we might as well, get a little bit of that out there.
Well, look, gonna have to bear with me a little bit. It's I can hear okay, but I still have spots dancing in front of my eyes from the light that was bouncing off of Joe Biden's teeth.
I know, man. On Twitter and a lot, and I do mean a lot, of the morning talk shows and radio heads and everything, there was a lot of the word joker thrown around.
Yeah.
And during the debate, at least on Twitter, the women, most of the women that were tweeting about it, and I don't just mean conservative women here, I mean women from all points of the spectrum, were talking about how rude they thought he was. I mean, some of them were calling him some pretty irreverent names. But it seemed to be amongst the women, at least, universally, that they did not appreciate his rudeness and his arrogance. Now, the men, that it really just depended on what party you were with. I think Krauthammer probably summed it up best. If you were listening to it on the radio, you would think it was all Biden. If you're watching it on TV, though, it was a hands down, Ryan, because Biden, Ryan was making him nervous. That's why the outburst interrupted him. How many times? 82 times, was it?
85 at one count. Look, Ryan did exactly what we needed for Paul Ryan to do. He got out there. He held his own against, Biden is known for being a good debater. And, because it's not really difficult to win a debate when you don't have to necessarily have facts on your side. If you can just say anything you want to that seems to be scoring a point off your opponent, if that's all you care about, you can go out there and kick butt, just what Biden did.
Which is exactly what he did. He just said whatever came to mind. And like at one point, Paul Ryan's, he's trying to attack Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney for wanting to bring the tax rate down. And he said, there's nobody's ever tried, bringing the tax rate down and revenues coming up. And
which is a lie.
It was a lie.
Every time it's been tried.
Paul Ryan said it's actually happened a couple of times. And he said, no, it hasn't. It's never happened. And he said, Jack Kennedy did it. Oh, so you're Jack Kennedy. See, that's just deflection. That's anger and frustration because he knows. Joe Biden knew that wasn't a falsehood. It was a lie, an outright lie. His own parties tried it. Bill Clinton tried it. Bring the rates down, revenues come up. He had no facts in his corner, just like Casey said. There was nothing factual in anything Joe Biden said, except for when he said, "I'm Joe Biden." And I was a little suspicious about
his
that.
Part by not embarrassing us, not messing up, not getting flustered, not letting Biden get to him.
Had a good zinger. The part about sometimes things don't come out of our mouth just right. That was good. Mm-hmm. That was perfect. Now the one where he said, I'm sure you're under a lot of duress and you're trying to make up some ground. A lot of people wanted to point to that one as one of his good zingers. But I don't think that was a zinger. I was kind of disappointed in Ryan for even going there with it. Because for a minute there, it looked like he was kind of sliding down a little bit to that nya back and forth, with Biden. I think he was much more effective when he just took a drink of water, took a deep breath, and then stayed on point, on message, which is exactly what Mitt did in the first debate and what I really hope he does in this one, which brings us to, we got another one coming right up in just like an hour and 15 minutes, man. The second presidential debate, town hall format with Candy. I'm going to get my licks in Crowley as the moderator. Word on the news circuit is that this one is like for the Obama camp, sink or swim. For the Romney camp, let's just get out of this one without sticking our foot in our mouth. I think that's pretty accurate. You?
I would definitely agree, because I know that what I want to see out of Romney is, again, that steady character, the unperturbable Mitt Romney, and I want him to nail Obama everywhere that he can with facts, but I want to see Mitt Romney just being himself. That's all he's got to do for me.
Well,
That's all he's got to do.
something I found interesting today. I was listening to one of the radio shows, and I want to say it was Laura Ingraham, I think. Either way, she was talking to Portman, the guy that's really been helping Romney with his debate prep.
Yeah, I think he's a senator, right, or
Yeah.
representative.
I believe so. Rob Portman. She was asking, I know he can't go into too much detail about how they prepare him, but like in our chat here, Erwin Fletcher brings up, how do you deal with Crowley going rogue? Well, that was something that the host wanted to know too. Do you prepare for the moderator as well as the opponent? And I thought that was a really good question, and he said absolutely. He said that's one of that is these days, that is part of the preparation, is because when we live in an environment where the mainstream press is pretty much right out in the open about being in the pocket of the president, and you can tell by the questions that they ask which camp they're leaning towards. So yeah, they've got Romney pretty prepared for a toxic environment. I mean, he showed that in the last debate because, Lehrer, well, while he stayed out of it and let him go back and forth like I would have liked, he still asked those pointed questions to Romney. Not necessarily. I mean, he did ask the president a couple of good, tough ones, but like when Romney would be given his answer, he would interrupt Romney to with a follow-up right in the middle of his answer so he couldn't finish his point. And they prepared him for that. He handled it well, I thought. Some people thought he should have just kept right on going, but I think he did just fine.
Well, a couple times he kept going when it was appropriate for him to do so. And he stood up, because to a certain extent, everybody wanted to see him stand up for himself. Because at this point, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm thinking about Romney as the future president. And what I want to see out of the president is, I don't want to see a doormat. And to me, that's all that Mitt has to accomplish when it comes to the tough talk, in quotes, all that kind of stuff. Just be himself and not embarrass us.
Well, he's got something in his favor that Obama does not. That would be Obama's record. Right now, the past 4 years are going to work in Mitt Romney's favor, I think.
Well, I think you said it pretty well earlier today on Facebook. There's only 4 numbers that Mitt Romney needs to bring to this debate: 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. I mean, that's only 4 numbers he's got to bring to this.
They're the only 4 that matter. I mean, now there's a lot of numbers within those numbers, and they tell a fascinating story. A fascinating story.
Yeah, if you like if you were a big fan of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, I mean, because it's about the same kind of read there. I'm just saying.
Well, I was looking around today. There's an article on the Washington Examiner about how Amtrak lost $84.5 million this year or last year just on snacks. That's how much money
What kind of snacks are they serving, man?
They've never broken even.
Ever.
Just on their snacks. Okay? Now that's just one facet of the Obama administration and their spending. This is how they spend money. Like there's been a move by, and this is what's funny to me, when the Democrats are screaming that the Republicans have offered, nothing credible, on the table to save money. Well, this year, one of the proposals on a Republican bill was that we stop manufacturing the penny. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And it got shot down. Do you know how much money we as taxpayers have to pay every year when they mint pennies?
You're going to tell us?
All right. It cost 2.2 times the amount of the penny to print the penny, or to mint the penny. So it costs 2.2 cents to mint. We as taxpayers have to make up a $70 million difference every year just because we manufacture the penny.
Canada stopped manufacturing theirs.
Yeah, because it wasn't cost effective. Now, we the taxpayers are taking that $70 million a year hit. That's just another little piece. You know, some of those numbers that don't mean anything.
I believe that was put in front of a Democratic Congress, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Or the Senate went for the Senate. The Senate said no. No, they shot that one down. See, this is, in 2009, unemployment was at 7.8% when Barack took office in January.
Those were the heady days. Yeah. Remember that, man?
Gas was $1.78 a gallon. A gallon of milk was about $2.99, somewhere around in there. Yeah, 2009. That's a good number. It's probably the best number out of all 4 years, as a matter of fact. That was when he inherited, such a horrible mess with gas at $1.78 a gallon. Horrible, horrible. In the meantime, fast forward to the 2012 number. Since that time, 23 million. There's a number for you, 23 million. That's the amount of people that's lost their jobs. Or how about this number under the 2012? 15 million. Gosh, what's 15 million? That's the amount of people that have completely dropped out of the workforce. Just ain't even trying no more. Not going to be on unemployment, not looking for a job, not underemployed. I just there's nothing I can do.
But, yes, they have dropped off of unemployment. But instead, an astounding number of those folks have filed for disability due to depression.
11 million, to be exact.
I don't feel like knocking those people here. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is our economy is so bad that people are dropping out of the workforce left and right, and the depression is real, folks. I mean, these people, the ones that are on disability for depression right now, are not the lazy ones.
No.
By and large, the people who are very, very depressed right now are people who are used to being the providers for their families.
How about the numbers 1 in 6? 1 in 6. That's the number of people in poverty in this country. 1 in 6.
So when you walk down the street and you pass 6 people, talking about one of those people is in poverty.
You want to talk numbers? You want to talk the 47% number? All right, we'll talk 47%. Yeah, it's the number of people on food stamps and welfare. 47% in this country. 47%. That also happens to be the pretty close to the number. Actually, the number's closer to 50% that do not pay taxes. So where's the revenue coming from? There's another number. 80 billion. Know what that? No, 80 billion. That would be.
What does that number mean?
That would be if they taxed the rich at 100%. That's how much money they would accumulate if they took all of the riches.
Let's see, what's our debt again, Marty? Remind me of that number.
16 trillion. And counting.
Let's see. So 80 billion. Do we have a calculator close hand? How do you get 80 billion into how many?
My calculator is 16. And growing. That number's not 16. Stable. That number's actually on the rise because we added another trillion this year. Next year, if we stay on this course, it'll be roughly 1.43 trillion, I think. Something like that. And this is their numbers. It's, this is, the Congressional Budget Office.
These numbers come from the CBO.
Yeah.
Not theblaze.com. not Breitbart.
Or I tell you, a good thing to look up is like the government accountability people.
I'm sorry.
They had a really good.
Said
I know.
accountability.
I know. That almost sounds like an oxymoron, but they've got some really, really good numbers for people to go look at. So in this debate coming up, I mean, if they want to throw out that 47%, I think Mitt's got an answer for them. I think he's going to be good. You know, the little line he had in the first debate where he's like, "Look, you know, I got 5 boys. I'm used to people saying something to me over and over again, thinking it's going to be right when they say it." You know, I think if he plays that card, that relaxed, just be Mitt.
Well, and show himself again to be a family-oriented guy, because that, you know, him saying that in the last debate accomplished 2 goals. It made Obama look like the spoiled child that he is.
Yeah.
And it made Mitt Romney, it reminded people that just like them out there, he's raised kids.
Well, and hey, you know what? And tonight, too, they're going to probably get into a little bit of the foreign policy thing. So, you know, they're going to be throwing up the Benghazi question. And I think that one ought to be a really good one to throw in there tonight, seeing as how, you know, Hillary conveniently, right before the debates, trying to say, well, you know, that was, you know, I'm sorry, that's all on me. I take responsibility, you know, for what happened in the State Department and all 60,000 people. You know, I guess I'm supposed to be everywhere at one time, but, you know, the fog of war, you know, things get kind of crazy. Well,
hey, I got another number that goes with that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's where the buck stops.
Hey, you know who else said that? Check this out.
This is one of the most important elections in our country's history. I believe we need a president who believed what Harry Truman believed, that the buck stopped in the Oval Office. I will do what I can to run the government and manage the economy, because I think we need a president who is hands-on, not hands-off, after what we've lived through the last 7 years.
So
that
back
sounded strangely like Hillary Clinton.
It was. It was a young 2008 Hillary Clinton when she was in the running against then Senator Obama.
She wasn't no ways tied.
No, man. You know, back in 2008, it seems, you know, just what I'm hearing her say was that she thought the buck stopped at the Oval Office. Not necessarily. She didn't say it stopped at the State Department, did she? Is that what I didn't hear? State Department.
No,
in there.
that wasn't what she said.
No, I didn't think
it.
so. I didn't think that's what I was hearing.
No.
You know, man, I think she said the buck stopped at the Oval Office, and that I believe she said that's where it should stop. Just goes to show that I think Michelle Malkin was really on to something last week when she called them a bunch of lying liars and crap weasels.
I really, really think she nailed it with the crap weasel. Up until then, I didn't know what a crap weasel was, which explains a lot of the angst I feel every time I think about, you know, the Obama cabinet and his closest advisors and everything. But, you know, now that I've got that word crap weasel in the vocabulary, I mean, it just
just kind of hope
perfectly describes the Chicago gang.
Don't a part of you just hope just a little bit that at some point during the debate tonight that Mitt Romney says lying liar and crap weasel just once? I mean, wouldn't it be nice if in his closing remarks he said something like, and as we close out this debate tonight, I think it's important that the American people understand that since 2009, we've not seen transparency. All we've seen is an administration full of lying liars and crap weasels. God bless America. Thank you very much. Wouldn't that be an awesome closing statement?
Man, it's too much to hope for, but yeah.
I think it would
awesome.
score well in the women demographic.
By the way, you notice Mr. Fletcher said that Bill Clinton was definitely hands-on when he was in the Oval Office. Just ask Monica.
Man, see, don't get me started on Bill Clinton, because Andrew Foster. I just, or what was his name? Foster.
Foster was his last name.
Yeah, Foster was his last name. What was his first name?
Was it Stephen?
No. Irwin Fletcher. What was his name? What was that Foster guy's name? The guy that, died under mysterious. The guy that managed to shoot himself while he was dead. What was that?
Vince Foster.
Vince Foster. There you go. Not Vince Lombardi. It was Vince Foster. That's right. I mean, I'm sorry. This party has no credibility. None. Nada. Nil. I was watching Zonation today over there on PJ Media. He was talking about how the Democrats seem to think that they own Martin Luther King. And Alonzo was talking about how ironic he thought it was that it was them same Democrats that was turning the fire hoses on people and sicking the dogs on people, and it was the Democrats that was trying to instigate the voter registration and the voter suppression and all that. How convenient it is that they seem to, and then they want to call it the party flip-flop, like, well, now it's the Republicans that's that way. And even Alonzo Rachel had to say that in these states where all this stuff happened, all this stuff was going on all this bad racial stuff, that was back when the state was blue. Since the states have turned red, if you want to claim party flip-flop on us, since the state has turned red, most of that racial crap doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, the fire hoses are used to put out fires. The dogs are used to sniff for bombs and drugs. And there is no institutional racism in the Deep South anymore. We were the first to,
But no, they're the party of the common man. They look out for us poor people. That's right. They keep you just as poor as they possibly can because you are useful to them when you are suffering. When you're doing well, look, you know what they do to you when you're doing well? Oh, they want to tax the hell out of you then. They want to punish you when you're doing well. But as long as you're poor, oh, yeah, they love you. Yeah, they do. As long as you're poor. As long as you ain't getting a piece of their pie, you're in like Flynn, baby. But you start getting a little successful, well, now. You didn't do that on your own.
Yeah, you didn't
build that. You know what? You know what we saw today or this weekend, man, before we go to break?
What did we see?
This weekend, we watched history being made by Felix Baumgartner leaping from 24 miles up in the air on the edge of outer space, could see the curvature of the earth.
Well, he didn't do that.
And you know what, though? You know what's funny? A soft drink company has a better space program than our nation.
Yeah. I was sort of hoping you wouldn't go there. And thanks for that happy thought to take into break with us.
We saw private enterprise versus government controlled. What that man did is actually going to benefit the people under the government control. It's actually going to make them safer too, as they, now they have a way that they can bail out. Or, in theory, of course, the thing that people are neglecting to realize here is that it also was done in the perfect ideal weather circumstances, and the winds were, within a certain amount, and a lot of things had to fall into play right. And I'm sorry, but I don't care if you're listening to us and you're an atheist, but as far as I'm concerned, the hand of God stopped that man from spinning. Good Lord have mercy. How in the world did he get out of that flat spin? That was a miracle. I mean, it was also a testament to those people's work that was involved in the making of that suit. While it kind of hindered him and actually was the cause of him getting in that spin because he couldn't feel the wind resistance, it also saved his behind because it kept him from blacking out as he was in that flat spin.
Well,
So-
at least it lets you know, okay, on any day that they would have been launching the space shuttle, the conditions would have pretty much had to be the same, correct? Because they can't launch those things, we don't launch rockets on bad weather days, man.
No, but the winds actually had to be like down to like 2 miles an hour. I mean, it was really, he had a very small window for oops in that.
But
it can
you do when
it can
you're
be
launching
tweaked.
a shuttle or trying to boost a satellite to orbit. I mean, at least you know now that if astronauts had to bail at 100,000 feet, they have a chance.
Oh yeah, they got a
Better
chance
chance
now.
of survival than they do staying inside there and blowing up.
Well, and for me, that's always good to know. But you ain't got to worry about it because I'm not going to be one of them space tourists.
No, I would, in a heartbeat.
Well, you just crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, but there is no amount of money, none. I don't know what.
Heartbeat. No, I ain't jumping out of no perfectly good spacecraft.
I
You
don't
can hang that up.
I don't know what Red Bull was paying that guy, but it wasn't enough. I mean, he was crazy anyway. He jumped off the giant Jesus there in Rio. He's jumped off of buildings. He jumped off down into this deep cave that's just a big old hole in the ground halfway to hell. I mean, he ain't known for being the sharpest knife in the drawer when it comes to, Of course, now he says he's done. He said this is it. He's retired now, and I don't blame him. I mean,
What do you do after that?
yeah, I mean, what else is there? I mean, that whole Evel Knievel going to jump across the Grand Canyon suddenly seems like, nah. This guy went up to outer space and just jumped out of a balloon, just stepped off into the void. I don't know about you, but during that, my pulse was racing. I was sweating. I was sweating bullets. I was rocking back and forth going, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, no, please don't die. Please don't die. Lord, please don't let him die. Please don't let him die. I mean, I was petrified, but I could not stop watching. That was one of the most incredible feats I have ever seen.
I think it was about the craziest thing that I've ever seen anybody do. And yet, having been a scientist and things, I mean, I understand the risk analysis that he took. Actually to appreciate all of the different variables that they took into account. I'm just amazed. I am in awe.
The sheer physics behind this was wow.
I mean, the dude more than broke the speed of sound.
833.9 miles per hour, according to his data
Did you see
sheets.
the landing he made where he just stepped off down the stairs?
Perfect. Well, that's a testament to the man's skydiving skills. I mean, he's a
got a lot of
professional.
experience, but man, he just did that after falling, 128,000 feet,
Man.
124,000,
Man, my legs wouldn't have worked. I don't. It's that to me, the fact that he was able to stand, when he landed. Period, because my legs would be jello. Not to mention, the inside of that suit would have a whole new smell. My first reaction when I hit the ground would be to open that visor so that I could vent that suit out a little bit because it's going to be ripe in there. There's going to be that somebody's going to have a mess. I don't think they're going to want to sell that suit on eBay or let any other astronaut wear that. They're going to be like, no, don't touch that. Don't touch that, son. Really. But, all in all. Oh, and one other thing. He broke all but one record, and that was the record set by Joe Kittinger back in 1960 for the longest free fall. Joe Kittinger fell for 4 minutes and 29 seconds, and Fearless Freep, or whatever his name is, Felix, he fell for like 4 minutes 19 seconds. I have a theory there. I think he knew.
I think he let Kittinger keep that record.
Yeah, I do too. I think he knew he was pulling early. Actually, too, I think he was like, I'm done with this. It's time to stop. Forget the record. Let Joe keep his. I think that was a little hat tip to him. And even, if it was or it wasn't, I think it's cool that Joe Kittinger gets to keep that record.
Well, he was there.
Yeah.
Well, not like in the capsule, but he was in the mission control.
And he was going going through the checklist with Felix, talking him through it, talking to him on the way up. It was a 2-hour ascent, and over 2 hours going up. And let's not forget that Baumgartner suffers from claustrophobia, really, really bad. And Kittinger was in his ear. I think that is awesome. All right, well, we're going to go to break for a minute. When we come back, little old Anniston, Alabama is in the national spotlight again.
And not for anything good.
I was going to say, how come is it every time Anniston gets into the national spotlight, it's not a good thing? Oh, well. Well, we'll find out when we get back. You guys just hang in there. Honest Answer Radio will be back in just a few minutes.
I will be held accountable. I've got 4 years. If I don't have this done in 3 years, then there's going to be a one-term proposition.
There is no Peace Corps. There is no Special Forces. There is no 50-mile hikes. There's no moon program. There's nothing to root for.
Our president has failed to lead this debate or offer a serious proposal.
Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton or George Bush or Ronald Reagan. This president is desperate, and I think he is demeaning the office. Had a terrorist incident and flown off to a fundraiser in Las Vegas, they would have been crucified.
Borrowing $110 billion this year, probably from China.
Why does he want a second term? Would he tell us? What's he going to do in the second term? More of this? Is this it? Is this as good as it gets?
Mr. President, it is time to stop blaming your predecessor for your failed economic policies.
President Obama is one of the least experienced men ever to occupy the White House.
Liberals believe that America is great because of government.
This president hasn't even met with his Jobs Council in the last 7 months.
I reject this idea that we should just shrug our shoulders and buy the PBS BuzzFeed line.
You've got to be kidding me. You jammed this down our throat. You didn't even let anybody in Washington even read the damn thing.
If Obamacare goes through and Obama is reelected, you were talking about the total destruction of wealth in America.
And they look to Washington, they see politicians who can't stop spending money. Their money.
It is the end of America as we know it. There will be no innovation. There will be no growth.
We're better than this. We need to prove it.
America is the story of everyday people who did extraordinary things.
As for me and my family, we will serve God. We will serve this constitutional republic. We will serve America.
I can do that. That's the America I know.
Where tomorrow is always better than yesterday. That is what our politics should be about. And that is what we are deciding this election.
We own this country.
We are the heirs of patriots who cast off the chains of tyranny.
And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people.
But I don't want my children and grandchildren to have to read the history book, what it was like to live in an American century.
It's still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man.
The promise of America must be kept for the next generation.
No one sits this one out. There are two paths. There are two paths.
This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
As an administration, the president's view that it was a terrorist attack.
But what did President Obama do the same day of a terror attack on American citizens? He campaigned in Las Vegas. Then, at the annual UN meeting where rogue nations are calling for a new world order, Obama snubbed key allies and skipped meetings with world leaders so he could be on TV.
We've actually brought some cloth napkins as well. I'm just supposed to be eye candy here.
This doesn't seem like a very defensible position.
When American embassies were attacked by terrorists, President Clinton responded with missiles. And when foreign leaders needed to meet, President Bush put his campaign on hold. President Obama needs to learn being president isn't just about being on TV and protecting your job. It's about leadership. It's time for a president who gets it.
I'm just supposed to be eye candy here for you guys.
Hello, this is Man Meat and you are listening to the HonestAnswerRadio.com. The sound of Casey and Marty's voice fills my heart like a golden poem. I am so full of love.
Hey, we're back here on The Honest Answer, here on HonestAnswerRadio.com and Spreaker.com. If you're either way, however you're listening to us, feel free to look down there on the little Spreaker player and hit that little chat button if you want to jump in and opine. Be cool with us. Before we went to break, I alluded to the fact that I wanted to discuss Aniston being in the national spotlight again. Again,
yes. And again, not for what I would call anything good.
No, first it was 60 Minutes coming to our little town to bring us into the national spotlight, referring to us as Toxic Town due to some pretty bad chemical disposal habits of the Monsanto Corporation. Then our illustrious potentates in our city council tried to pass an ordinance banning public employees from saying anything, from having Facebook pages or saying anything on their Facebook pages negative. That we had one of our one of our idiot councilmen, our former idiot councilman, was actually did the morning news circuit, and he sounded like a genius, just a genius. And now Aniston is again in the national spotlight. I'm looking around on the Fox News website the other day, and I saw this thing about Alabama getting a new civil rights park, and I thought, well, okay, let's see what this is about. Well, it was about the Freedom Riders, and if you don't know anything about the civil rights movement, the Freedom Riders were a group on like a bus tour, campaigning for civil rights, etc. And they were met in Aniston, Alabama, by some people who, well, They weren't exactly fans of the civil rights movement. They were staunch Democrats, I'd like to mention right away. They were also Klansmen. And, they burnt the bus, and they chased those people off of that bus. Now, that event did spark a lot of other big events in the civil rights movement. It gave Rosa, people like to credit Rosa Parks, or say that Rosa Parks, took her courage from that bus burning. Whatever. I understand the importance of marking such events. I do. Now, these people are creating a park right where that bus was burnt, all right? On that very spot that those men ambushed those people and threw their Molotov cocktails at that bus and caught it on fire. They're going to commemorate it with a park, and they're going to encourage national tours to come ride through this town just to see that plot of land that doesn't even resemble what it used to look like then. Nothing is the same anymore, but they're going to create a little park there and let these national tours come through and tell them all about those mean, horrible men that tortured these innocent people. Now, that part of this story is true. Casey and I have discussed this little incident before.
On the air.
On the air. And at that time, we were taking calls. And I voiced this same opinion, told this story the same way then, and I begged for people to call in and tell me where I'm wrong about this. And we didn't get any calls, by the way, telling me where I was wrong. And I was telling Casey before we went on the air, and I wanted to talk about it, that it's almost like people just don't get it. If they're going to tell the story, if they're going to commemorate this civil rights issue here and mark this as an important turning point in the civil rights movement, it would be better perhaps if they would tell the entire story and bring one very important word into the story that seems to have been purposely left out. And that word is redemption. See, the people that were on the bus that got the Molotov cocktails through at them, they did endure something very, very horrible. And it, undoubtedly changed their lives, right? Sort of made them who they are today. It sort of cemented their role in the civil rights movement and made them all the more determined to see it through. But see, there's a flip side to that. There's the men that actually participated in it. See, it didn't just change the lives of the people that they tortured. That event actually sort of started to change a lot of their lives right then as well in another direction. See, I used to work for one of the very men that participated in that action there. And I didn't work for him back in his younger days. I didn't even know him then. When I worked for him, I hate to say, call him like an old man, but, he was getting on up there in years. And he owned him and his brother owned a gas station. Another participant in that event. And what people don't tell about this story is that those two men who were willing participants in this and who did horrible things and had horrible attitudes toward their fellow man did change their lives in a completely opposite direction. As a matter of fact, both of those men spent the rest of their lives trying to atone for those evil deeds done on that one day. What they did that one day, they spent the rest of their lives trying to atone for, and telling younger people like myself how utterly stupid that kind of racist attitude was. Telling me to learn from their mistakes. That man had a sign in his store back during that time period that said, no coloreds allowed. He still kept that sign in the back, in his office. And he didn't keep it because it was, like some kind of heartfelt reminder of a better time. He kept that sign to remind him how stupid he was and how fallible as a human being he was and is. But he also kept it as a sign that redemption is possible. Now see, if on the plaque that they're going to mark all this stuff on, that big granite monument that they create there, if this part of the story were to be included in that, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would encourage national tours to come through and look at that and go, my gosh, if these people could change, maybe I could change. But that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to bring these national tours through here and tell everybody what horrible people used to live here and that their descendants still live here to this day, and that same horrible racist attitude still permeates this country as we speak. And we've got to keep these monuments here so that we never forget. But we got to forget about the redemption part, because that just doesn't make the story sound good.
Yeah, it's the whole story that needs to be told over and over. But yet again, this town, our little burg here, has to, I guess, wallow in its own guilt. It happens about every year.
Yep.
They find yet another way to wallow in guilt, and things are not the same here in this town. Now, there's still plenty of racism. I mean, this is,
racism's not
in this
dead.
country where there isn't. Okay.
No, but the attitude is different here.
Well, the attitude is different.
Like,
we've all lived together through that stuff.
That's right. But they conveniently leave out the most important part of the story. In commemorating the civil rights movement, they love to, it feels great when you can say, look, we won. And
but
you
why
would think
are they
that
saying that.
Well,
though?
see, that's just it.
Why are they saying that they've won?
Well, see, that's what I want to know. And it's not that they won. We all won in that. We all won. When they won their part of the victory, we all won. And even the men that committed that horrible act were able to win something at the end of that. They won redemption. Those men, when our local newspaper wrote about it, they forgot to mention the part of the story where one of the men that was on that bus actually came and met with the man I worked for, and how they talked about that day, and how that they didn't write about the man I worked for being reduced to tears that day at seeing this man, and how effusively he apologized for what he did. And the other man, the man who was on the bus, he knew that man had turned his life around. His community had told him about it. That's how he came to know to come back through to see this man. He had to see it with his own eyes, that hate could change. He wouldn't have believed it if he hadn't have seen it with his own eyes. I was there, man. I saw it. But our newspaper's not going to write about that. Fox News Channel's not going to talk about that. ABC, none of these people are going to talk about that part of the story because it just doesn't make for good reading.
It's not good television, man.
That's right. It's easier to divide than it is to bring together, man. And besides that, these positive moments in history they really just make for crappy, political ads. It's not, so you can't campaign on happiness. Just don't work. They focus group that, and happy times just don't work. They're not effective.
Everybody knows that.
Positive messages just don't work. Man, we can't forget redemption. If we can't remember redemption out of this story, out of something like this personal, this right here at home, what kind of chance does our country have? If we wallow in this guilt forever, how in the world are we ever going to move, what's that word? Forward?
Ooh.
Yeah, see,
you're racist.
I know it. I am a horrible, horrible bigot. But you remember, though, man, we couldn't get anybody to call in and tell us where we were wrong there. And believe me, where we were broadcasting, man, a lot of the people listening, there's a bunch of them that would have loved to have been able to call us on some of that. But they couldn't. Because even those people know you can't forget about redemption. It's the only hope we've got. As human beings, man, we're crappy. We're like one of the lowest life forms on this planet. We eat our own. There's got to be some hope.
Well, all I got to say is things have come to a sorry pass when a story like that depends on folks like me and you to get it out. I mean, because who are we? We're just bloggers.
Yeah. We're just bloggers.
We're just involved in the internet. You know.
The mainstream don't want nothing to do with us, dude.
And, you know, like I said, it depends on us. Us?
Well, we're going to do our part. I know that. I'm going to do my part here in about half an hour by sitting through an hour and a half of wah, 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 wah. Two men vying for the most important position in this country. I like that one commercial we played, the 2 paths. 2 paths.
Yeah, but every time I hear that, I keep hearing Led Zeppelin. What, there are 2 paths you can't go by.
Oh, Lord. All right, we got to get out of here before Casey starts breaking into Stairway to Heaven. That's how you know we've come to an end. Casey's doing Zepp. All right, you got anything else there, Led?
There's a couple more verses.
No more verses. No more verses.
Other than that, I got nothing.
All right. Well, let's see. This here's Tuesday. So that means we've got Thursday coming up. I guess we get to talk about the debates more. Woohoo! But hopefully we'll at least have something worth talking about. I hope Mitt lays it down. I hope he lays into him tonight. I would really like to see Obama exposed for what he truly is. A socialist. All right. Well, you ready to get out of here?
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Erwin, for coming into the chat. Love it when you're here. We'll see you guys Thursday.
Not y'all.
Settle away.